Hello, everyone. Hi, my name is Marques Jerrell Ruff, and I am the executive producer of this concert, Way Over in Beulah Lan, The Evolution of the Negro Spiritual. I am so excited to be joined today for this pre-concert talk with some of my dearest colleagues and friends. At this point, they're just all friends at this point. They started as colleagues, but now we're family, truly. Going from my left around, I have Dr. Brandon Boyd here with us. We have
Hello.
Hello. We have Dr. Maya Gibson with us. And then we have Dr. Jolie Rocke with us. What an exciting time. Thank you all so much for being here. We have been on a journey, haven't we? Since 2018, 4 years ago, when this idea first came to fruition, we have been on a journey, and it has been an interesting journey. Uh, and I'm just curious to know how any of you, and anyone can take this, how you felt about this time where we come together every year or other year, considering 2020, but how you felt about this journey since it started.
Feels like coming home, feels like unbreakable bonds, feels like a well-fitting shoe, for lack of a better word, or a tight glove. Just feels like being with friends.
That's wonderful. That's great to hear. I think it's to me, it's like a lot of things I get myself into. I go, I don't know. I just say yes, as someone told me a long time ago, and then let it work itself out. And this has been sort of one of those things where you say yes, and then you don't realize how much wonderfulness is packed up in it, and you then are very happy you said yes. You know what I mean? But that sort of kind of normally happens when there's somebody with a vision for it, which you have had, and I'm sure all of you have had some vision for it, and but making it be a reality and a real thing, that's it. Always takes one or two people to do that, and that I'm grateful on my end, being the collaborative person at the piano. It feels good to know that there are people who want to see this be something very, very special, and all the pieces are there. You know what I mean? The talent, the creativity. So I just love to see how it has developed. It's like having a child, and yeah, it did actually turn out to be something.
On that note, yeah, for me, it's wonderful. I look forward to coming to Columbia, particularly for this concert and new adventures I have going on there. It also is an opportunity, I think, for us to reach back and feel our ancestors, and to bring that to the community. And that to me is so special, and being with you all, we holding our hands and being creative and the academics and the, scholarly, all of that, and then wrapped together with that with family and love is just, awesome. So I'm excited, very excited.
That's beautiful. I agree with everything you've all said. For those of you who watched our pre-concert talk back in May, you know the history of how this came to be. And I think it highlights the point that each of them has shared is this feeling of family, but also collaboration. The idea for this concert was born out of me being in a class that Dr. Gibson was teaching at the time called History of African American Music. And Ayako had approached me about doing a concert, and this just seemed like something that needed to be done. And I knew that while I could sing a concert of spirituals, I knew that this was bigger than me, and I wanted to connect with the people who were there in Columbia. And then Jolie, I've known her since I was 15, so it was a no-brainer for me. But actually, Dr. Boyd and I started at Mizzou together. That was his first year on faculty, my first year as a grad student. So it just seemed like the perfect opportunity to bring these worlds together And then what I loved about it was how when each person said yes, whether they knew what it was or not, whether they understood the vision or not, then they came in and you each added something to this process. I think about the many planning meetings we've had and the rep we've gone through and oh we don't want to go that way and we oh if we go down that route then we have to go this way. And so I guess my first question on that idea is Dr. Boyd, as the collaborative pianist, and you're surrounded by, you know, all singers. Dr. Gibson can sing, just so you all know. But especially with Jolie and myself, and naturally, because I think it's fair to say we all love the spiritual and what it means. I think for Dr. Rocke and myself, especially, we're like, okay, let's do this. You know, let's do it all. How do you approach something like this from a musical standpoint as the collaborative pianist? What has been a goal that you've wanted, something you've wanted to see happen, something you tried to remain constant on that we make sure we do every year? How have you approached your role?
Yeah, I think as the collaborative pianist, it's good to fill in the gaps, and I think that's my job, to fill in where there might need to be this or that. You know, pianistically following the, you know, both of you as artists are very different than putting both of you together. And to me, it's very fun because there's this thing that we don't have a whole lot of in academia, you know, unfortunately, even in core music, and it's this improvisatory kind of, you know, mode that I think has to be a part of this experience, while yet showing more some of the classical idioms of what it is you do. So for me, it's always like, I'm be honest with you, it's a part of me that is grateful that I've had some of those early experiences where my piano teachers could do both, could improvise while yet be very much so committed to a score, or you at least take the 98% ideas from that score and keep it. And then if you need to do something to flush it out. And I think with the rep that you all have chosen, it is sort of given me that kind of freedom. Like, yes, there's something that is completely scored that we need to stay committed to, as if we would Brahms or Beethoven or any other or Bonds. I don't want to just say men's names, but so, and then there's also opportunities where you all get to just go, and then I get to go with you, and I get to trail you, sometimes push you, sometimes pull you. I mean, it's like, you know, some people don't get to ever experience that, you know, and so I think that's a joy. And to watch, you know, Dr. Gibson, sometimes I literally am thinking to myself, watching her create with the words, she sort of tickles a different part of the brain for some people. And then you tickle, Jolie tickles a certain part, and Marcus does. And, you know, and I'm just there, hopefully tickling something. But anyway, it's a joy. It's like, as a pianist, you sort of just, you know, I'm just grateful. That's really, in a big box, that's grateful to be able to have people to work with that can do, that are multifaceted. And I think our ancestors are proud every time they see you up, all of you, you know.
I love that. And thank you for sharing that. I love the part that you talked about, especially the push and the pull and the inspiration that we get as every time before we come into a planning meeting. I look back at the previous concerts, and there are so many beautiful moments where one in particular, I think it was the second concert. Dr. Gibson, you're up and you're about to go on to the next narration, but we just came out of I can't remember it. I don't know if it wasn't Total Praise. It was some number that we had just come out of with all the forces, and the spirit was just moving. And you come up and you're like, "Say Amen."
Right.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
And then Dr. Boyd, you took that, and then there's this, you know, impromptu reprise that happened, and it's like Julie and I looked at each other. It's like we know exactly what to do. Let's get up and go. And the audience response to that, you know, for those of us who have grown up in the Black church or have had experiences with it, you know, sometimes it's just very easy just to chalk that up to the Holy Spirit. But I think that not only is it the Holy Spirit, but I think that it's the fact that the four of us know and trust each other so well.
Right.
that we will follow or we will lead, and we can just we've done this enough that it's like, oh yeah, we know where this is going.
Right.
You
It
know,
is.
it's fun when Brandon talks about the push and the pull, because I remember moments where the song is supposed to be over, but he keeps playing, and I know keep going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's not the true essence of collaborative really is there, because it's so easy as a singer to just, because we're told you lead and you go, but when you really are, I think, a better professional, you really are listening and paying attention to what's going on with the pianist and the other instrumentalists that are with you. And so being aware that we're together on this ride and feeling, Brendan's energy and the move forward, and even Marques, when we're singing a duet, feeling your energy and looking over and responding. And it's never ever, everybody, it's never the same in rehearsal or for the next performance of the same show. It's every performance has a unique quality to it, in the delivery, that's really based on the moment and what's going on in the moment. We have the foundation, we know the music, we understand the music, but then it's all of the emotion and the power within, and I think the move of God within and around us within the universe at that moment, that really makes it special and unique to that moment.
Oh yes, I wholeheartedly agree.
It's a gift, actually,
Yeah, it
to
is.
perform with you all. I can't lie. This is like, I have never in my academic career had a group of performers with whom I click so just genuinely that what comes to mind is in jazz performance when people say they're in the pocket. We are in the pocket. We are following the flows and rhythms and ebbs of each other, and that feedback from the audience is just, it just gives energy and life to everything that we do, and I just love that.
It's gonna make me cry. just this is like, this is just, it's wow, it's just beautiful.
And here in Houston, I talk about this concert everywhere I go. People are like, "Oh, so what are you doing?" "Oh, I'm going." Sometimes I don't even remember where I'm going from day to day. But I always remember, well, I'm going to Columbia at such and such a time. I just can't wait. And they're like, Columbia, Missouri. Columbia,
Not the country. Not the country.
Not the country, Columbia, Missouri, because they're like Columbia, Maryland. There's so many Columbias, and I'm just like Columbia, like it's a given because it's so powerful to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to Columbia, and Marques and Maya and Brandon and I are gonna get together and do this thing, and yeah,
people are looking forward to it in Columbia too. Like,
yeah, and there are people who are looking forward to it outside of Columbia that come on live stream and watch, or wait for videos to be uploaded later, and they want to see it as well. And just a tremendous response. I think this is really a ministry.
Yes. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. And I'm so excited to be presenting. A little sad that it's the finale, but also really excited to go out with a bang and to really, really leave it all out there. Maya, you said something that really stuck with me, and struck a chord within me. And you said it's a gift.
Yes.
And so when I think about that word gift, and I think about you, I couldn't think of a better word to describe your contribution to this show. And I don't want to be reductive in saying this, but so please know my intention. You are a wordsmith. It is your ability to craft this narration. And I know, not to give away any of the secrets, I know that you are inspired by the rep that is chosen, by the direction we choose to craft this stuff. And when I think about the very first concert, where it was our first go, Second Missionary Baptist Church, thank you, Dr. Ruffin, Reverend Dr. Ruffin, thank you so much. Looking forward to seeing you again this year on Thursday night. But when I think about that first concert and how we had everything so scripted as we needed to, because this was our very first time. And I remember the dress rehearsal, and you had read what you had written, and I just sat there in awe. And so much so that the next year, I didn't even want to hear what it was before the show because I wanted to hear what you were going to say in the moment with everybody else because I knew that it was going to do something. How have you approached your role as narrator in this show that has become a beloved role? I mean, like, people look forward to your words. How have you approached this?
Well, it's really two things, Marcus. I think you all must know that a lot of times I don't have what I'm going to say set until we've actually done the dress for the performance, because as I said before, I really do take my inspiration from listening to you all click together, from listening to it's almost like putting together a recipe, right? Or like by not following a recipe, but knowing how to cook and knowing what spices need to be brought to the stew or the gumbo or whatever it is you're making. It needs a little salt here, it needs a little spice here. That's a big part of it. But the other tremendous part, besides the fact that I love words, I just love words, okay? It's really that I love to tell the story. I love to tell this story. And I mean, I could speak for hours on the story of Black music and the roots of Black music and all of the culture and history that goes along with the music. I mean, the music aesthetically is gorgeous, but without knowing the narrative, you lose something if you don't know the narrative. And the thing that attracts me is really telling the story of this great body of repertoire and literature and how it started and where it is now. It's like those memes, how it started.
How it's going.
Right? Yeah. And luckily, both sides of that meme are beautiful. Yeah.
I think that you're just so rich with these analogies. It is a recipe. It is a recipe, and it is important to tell the story. And in academia, particularly in the music, we know, lecture concerts and/or recitals, they do exist. So this concept is not new. But the way I think, and I won't even try to say that what we're doing is new because, I mean, we all can recall or have heard of rather, the spiritual concert between Jesse Norman and Kathleen Battle and what that was. So I think what makes this concert different than just like your typical lecture concert or lecture recital is the fact that we've dramatized it. And so the narration really is like in a play or a musical, it really does move the plot forward and is just as musical. Your cadence, like it is. There's no accompaniment to it, so a cappella, sure, we'll call it that. But it's just as musical. And when we came out of the first concert and people said, "Oh my God, I just understand." I'd heard the songs before. Yes, the high notes are pretty, the low notes are, yes, the choir is great, the piano, but the words are powerful. The words are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Speaking of high notes, we have the soprano du jour, one of my favorite sopranos. And I'm biased, admittedly, because as I mentioned before, I've known Dr. Rocke since I was 15 years old. We went into that in the last one, so we don't have to go all the way back. But I always take every opportunity I get to say that I would not be the musician I am today and be where I am in my career had it not been for Dr. Rocke and her investment of time, resources, and energy into helping me to craft this gift. And so I just always have to take that moment. And no matter how old I am, I will always stop and just pay homage to you, Dr. Rocke, because truly, I remember, and I never said this out loud, but I know you remember it. I can remember coming to your house for voice lessons and coachings, and you'd have some chicken frying in the kitchen with some potato salad. You beat me down in a lesson in a good way. And then afterwards be like, here you go, eat. It's like, don't walk out of here discouraged now. And I don't know if you remember that in Hartford. Do you remember those? Do you remember those times?
Remember those days when
Yeah,
my piano was in the dining room?
yeah. So, Dr. Rock, you have been all over this globe singing, from Australia to Europe to just everywhere. I mean, have you been to Colombia, the country, yet? Speaking of
I
the,
have not. I have not been to South America yet. We were
okay,
supposed to plan to go, and then the pandemic hit. And
yeah.
so,
So
yeah.
we got to make just got to put that out into the atmosphere, just to manifest that. When you come to this repertoire, what has been your guide? I know that your doctoral dissertation was on the pioneering efforts of Marian Anderson,
Mhm.
but for you, this is clearly personal, and the way you perform this music every time, whether it's your 15th time performing it or it's a special. What what is it about this music? These lines, these melodic lines, these high notes. What is it about it that has been your guide, that inspires you? What happens to you when you're singing this music?
First, let me say thank you for remembering. Um, for thank you and remembering really, and what is in my DNA, what is in our DNA is something that is powerful. Growing up as a child, I learned that we are special.
Hmm.
That we made pyramids, we made the sphinxes, we helped build the United States of America through blood, sweat, tears. And so many lives were lost in the Middle Passage. So many lives are still lost today. The story needs to continue to be told. This music tells the story. There's so much subtext in the music, and I really reach deep within and to help try to kind of capture however I can, because I really can't. It's not possible, I don't think, for me to truly relate to what people went through in slavery. I can try to understand, I can try to tell the story, I can imagine, and I do imagine that it was a horrible experience, but I didn't live that experience. So before I go out on the stage, before I go stand up on the pulpit at church, or the chancel, and get ready to sing a spiritual, I am saying a prayer that to my ancestors, that this descendant, right,
Yes.
that this descendant can tell their story, can tell that somehow somebody that's out there listening will understand and their heart will be pierced, and that it will change them so that we can be in a better world, that we can move toward a land of freedom, right? That we can evolve, right? This is why we named the series The Evolution, right? That we can continue to evolve toward a positive, free, inclusive, loving world where these melodies are so beautiful, and from out of such a horrific experience, these melodies and these songs came, and these words, and yeah, they have tremendous meaning to me. And so that's it. I once Willie Anthony Waters, the conductor, said to me in a coaching, he said, if you could sing that opera aria the way you sing spirituals, ha, glory. He did. He did, yeah. And so, yeah, they're very meaningful to me.
That's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful. And I love that you draw on the fact that while none of us are, were born into enslavement, as descendants of that, it's our responsibility to tell the story. I also love that you talked about evolution, and I just want to take this moment. We talk about it in the program notes, which were beautifully written by Dr. Gibson, but just to mention this here and now, that we did change part of the title this year. And I own the fact that when I first came to this, I've always known this to be the Negro spiritual. I've always known it to be that. But I think I might have been a little afraid to use that word, especially in Columbia, in Boone County. You know, there is a history in Boone County of severe racism and mistreatment of Black folk, Black and brown folk. And I had several conversations with people whom I respect across the country since 4 years ago that said, I think this is a great idea, more or less, that said, this is a great concert. I love what you're doing. Why African American spiritual? And I could never really answer it. And then finally, at the top of this year, it hit me that no, there's power in using what the name is. And Dr. Gibson, you talked about that in your program notes briefly to address that power. Would you like to speak to that?
Sorry, you caught me off guard, but of course I will speak to that. The way that I think of this, and each one of us has our own reasons for the desire to reclaim Negro as Negro spiritual. It is ideological, to say it very plainly. It's the word Negro and Negro spiritual together are like water to the fish, to me. What I mean by that is it's just, it permeates my being, my soul, my fabric. It is what my mama taught me these songs were, what my preacher grandfather taught me that these songs were, and what they have been passed down through generations. So it's really an intergenerational way of naming and claiming the title of this repertoire as my ancestors did. African American spiritual is fine. It's fine as a title, but it's in my inner being, in my heart center. It is and always will be the Negro spiritual. I don't know if anybody else wants to speak to that, because I know we each have a different way or shading of how we think about it. But
Please, yes.
I wrote my dissertation on Marian Anderson as a contralto that was involved in government, etc. So while I was writing my dissertation, everyone on my doctoral committee was white. There were no people of color on my doctoral committee, and the chair of my doctoral committee said, "Are you sure you want to use the word Negro? Isn't that politically incorrect right now? It makes people feel uncomfortable." I said, "Yeah, people should feel uncomfortable."
Yeah.
It's a Negro spiritual. It was appropriate in that day and that age. And I pay homage to that day and that age. And I don't want people to forget about what that meant in the historical context of what it is.
I appreciate all of your kindness. Dr. Boyd, did you want to
Sure, yeah. It's many times when I'm talking about spirituals, people ask that very question. But I like to give them all of the categories in which spirituals fall in, and then also try to really look at geographically. African American leaves out something. Black includes all, so that they have an understanding of why people call things what they call them. But Negro is obviously a historical term, which is a part of what this music is. It's historical music. I do veer away from African American more, because I do like to be sure that I am not leaving out any part of our history. I don't mind Negro folk tune. I don't mind Negro spirituals. None of those terms, because it speaks of the history of the term. But a lot of people just don't know enough about it, and they think everything's a spiritual. They don't know what's sacred and what's secular. They don't know that some people don't even realize they're white spirituals. They're all kinds of spirituals. All from all different parts, but none have birthed the expression that the Negro spiritual has, because none of them were Negroes. And that I will die saying, because I truly believe it. Not to say I can really speak of anybody, but there is no one who's gone through the atrocities that Black people have gone through. Negro, and we don't use any other part of that word. We don't any derivatives. That I think is just absolutely inappropriate. But yeah, to respect the historical aspect, Negro spiritual is the most, I don't, I would say the most historical, the most scholarly way of categorizing music of the Black experience out of the slave voice. That's just.
I'm really grateful to be surrounded by such an awesome cast of people. For those of you who are in the know, I'm currently a second year PhD student at Florida State University, and I'm looking very much so to completing this degree. Go Knowles! And you'll notice the company as when I did their introductions: Dr. Boyd, Dr. Gibson, Dr. Rocke. So I've made them all promise that we will do one more show somewhere, whether I don't know where, so that I can finally introduce myself as Dr. Ruff. But I say that to say that I am so grateful for your patience with me, and your willingness to help and your willingness to evolve with me. Particularly on this, which is a minor thing, but in reclaiming this title, this time around, I'm really grateful for that. So one thing we did, because we're really excited for this concert that is Friday, October 7th at 7 p.m. At First Baptist Church in Columbia, Missouri. We are so looking forward to being with you all. Tickets are already on sale, and we are really excited about that. And we are so grateful to be collaborating with the new chorale, Sankofa Chorale from MU. And we can't thank you enough for this. And we really appreciate your time with us today. Before we go, we did this last time, and it is a quick answer session. So I'm going to throw out a prompt to you, and you have to give your first answer that comes to mind. It doesn't bind you up. Also, special shout out to Papa Do's Soul Food in Columbia, who will be providing food for our reception. We are so grateful for this collaboration and love to support Black business. Okay, here we go. Round one. Favorite spiritual. Jolie.
Lord, how come you're here?
Maya.
Here's one.
Brandon.
Here's one.
Balm and Gilead. Favorite composer. Brandon.
Favorite composer would definitely be Margaret Bonds.
Maya.
William Grant Still.
Ooh. Jolie.
Florence Price.
I'm going to go H.T. Burley. Okay. Hard one. Favorite Black singer. From the classical realm. So just to narrow it down, we got to narrow it down. And
Leah T. Price.
Okay, he took my. Okay, Leah T. Price. Maya.
Oh gosh, Jesse Norman.
Marian Anderson.
I'm gonna go Kathleen Battle. All right, inspired by the beautiful food of our community, soul food, which comes from this beautiful, beautiful community. Mac and cheese, egg or no egg?
Egg.
Egg.
I've never even had it without eggs.
Maya.
Egg for sure. Yes, egg.
Jolie, egg.
Egg. Yeah.
I just made a mac and cheese from a recipe from the Black Museum, African American Museum in Washington, D.C., excuse me, with no egg, and it was actually good. Last question. Fried chicken or fried catfish? Catfish is very big in Missouri.
Fried catfish. Only because I don't eat fried chicken.
Okay.
If I ate both, it'd be fried chicken. But I'm gonna say fried catfish.
Okay.
I have to go with chicken only because, sorry.
No, go ahead, go.
Fried chicken it is. It just sometimes just does what it do.
Okay, Maya.
Fried fish with hot sauce and a little bit of mustard and a piece of bread.
Come on.
I'm with you, Maya. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this pre-concert talk. Thank you again to Dr. Jolie Rocke, Dr. Maya Gibson, and Dr. Brandon Boyd. We look forward to seeing you all in Columbia on Friday, October 7th at 7 p.m. for Way Over in Beulah Lan, the evolution of the Negro spiritual. Take care. Bye.